Thank you for joining me. This tutorial is going to be my Moonshine jug. It's actually one of my very favorites because there's a legend in my family about a great-grandfather who was supposedly a moonshiner. I haven't been able to actually verify that through any paperwork, but this is inspired by those old cartoons where you see the moonshine bottles with the X's on the side. So let's get started. The bottle itself is made first. This is a ball and it is 5/8 of an inch in diameter. This is brown umber primo, a third of that to 2/3 translucent Sculpey. So make sure it's soft enough there for me. It's been sitting out. And then what I do is on about half of it, I start rolling it to create the bottom of the base of the jug. I press it down on the bottom to flatten it. So far that's the bottom of the jug. And then, I'll try to do this where you can see it. I take the top portion and I start going in circles to start creating the neck. And then, to shape the neck better, I use the index finger and thumb in this direction. So first it was this direction, and to finish it, it's this direction. Continue going around in a circle. And then I flatten it on the top because you have a flat base. So, as you can see, that's pretty close to the moonshine jug shape right there. You know, I clean it up by just doing the twists just a little bit more. When I'm happy with the shape, then I take a safety pin if your clay is super soft, you'll want to give it a little time to harden before doing this, but I stick it in the very top and I go around in a circle to widen the top, so that's the inside of the mouth of your jug. And to shape the other part, I go around the top of it. I just leave my safety pin there as I rotate the bottle around. And this makes the top of the jug. So we do that. And then I make the handle of the jug. So let's see if that's enough clay. I roll it out. And usually when I roll it out, it ends up being almost a millimeter. It's like a hair under a millimeter in thickness. So I pick up the side of my moonshine jug and I attach the clay right at the bottom of the lip. I smooth the handle into the bottle. I flip this and I join it right at the curve. I roll it straight to flatten it. And then I'll even roll it like this 1 or 2 more times just to make sure that it's nice and straight and how I want it. So this is your bottle. So that's the bottle. That's supposed to be glass, and we bake that according to manufacturer instructions. As you're baking that, you can condition some Primo Ecru. So this is the Primo Ecru. And I rolled it out. This is number 3 on my pasta roller, which is 1/2 millimeter. So, so there we go. Now, the bottom of moonshine jugs in the old days, they look ceramic to me. So, in order to get a little bit of texture, I rub some flour on. Keep on rubbing You've seen me do this before. This is how I texture my fortune cookies. So I keep rubbing, 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 rubbing. I would rub for quite a while, but for the tutorial's sake, I'm not going to. I trim the edge flat, and I lay a finished moonshine jug. This is one that's been baked already. So I lay that down, and I mark right where that curve is. So I see it. I'll move that, and I will trim it. So there we go. Hopefully you could trim it pretty steadily. Then I'll make sure I have a flat edge. From there, I take my moonshine jug, and I will add either liquid Fimo or TLS. In this case, it's the TLS. And I will add it to the bottom of the jug, not the glass portion, just the bottom. Then I will grab this and place it on. I usually place it on the back side of the moonshine jug, right behind the handle. So I'll wrap it around to where it meets. And once you wrap it around to where it meets, you can cut the edge here, lift it off, sorry, there we go. So I cut it where it met, and I'll try to smooth that edge so it's not a solid line. And then I'll start taking the clay on the bottom, wrapping it around the bottom of the jug. Let's see if I can show you better this way. So I just continue going inwards, inwards. And I'll do that until I have it completely covered on the bottom. And try to smooth out the top if it got kind of funky while you were shaping it. Now, if you've lost the texture from the flour, what I like to do is put a little bit of flour on the piece of paper. I roll it on a piece of paper, and then you can roll it on the flour like this to help put the texture back. I'm blowing it off here, wiping some of that flour off, but rolling it in the flour after put some of that texture back in if you somehow lost it while you were making the back side meet. So there is the moonshine bottle with the whatchamacallit, the ceramic bottom. Now I need to show you how we make that ceramic have an aged and old sort of feel. I take some pastels, so what I do is I take a yellow ochre, I take a rust, and I take a brown. And of course you make the dust just by taking your razor and running it along the side. So once you've made a pile of each color of dust, I first paint along the bottom in the front usually. I leave some of the center open. You could kind of blend it. I paint a little bit towards the top. On the back side I'll paint in the middle, along the bottom some more. But I'm trying to keep it all from being one tone. So from here, I usually dab rust and yellow together, so the rust isn't too strong. And I'll put that in a couple areas, not too dark. That's why I'm adding some of the yellow with the rust, because as you can see, it gets dark pretty quick. And I continue going to blend it in as much as possible, because I'm trying to make it look old, but not solid colors. So from here I might add a little bit of brown, mix it with the yellow, and choose a area to make it look like it has a little bit of grime that had held on to it. Or so there we go. So I have rusts and I have yellow ochre. For the X's, we gotta find that little safety pin again. Here it is. And for that X, I usually do the very center X first, just so I have it centered in the front of my bottle. But I rock my safety pin in there, and then I'll place another one to the left of it and another one to the right of it, and then I go the opposite way. And this makes the X. So here you go. You see the Moonshine Jug Charm with all the X's. From here you would bake it again. And since the bottom part, which is the thickest, is already baked, you don't have to bake this time quite as long. I think 23 minutes is even fine if you're working with the Primo, if it's at the 275. Now from here, what I do is I dip a toothpick in a little bit of water, and I roll it around in some brown, and I try to get it into that area there. If you have a hard time getting it in, you can see if you can get the brown to work on the safety pin that you just used. I find this usually works just fine. So you can see it's not too clean right now, but you clean it up. I usually work a lot better closer to my face. This is quite far away from my body. From here, I rub off some of that excess. You could even use a little bit of water to do it. It still continues to add to that aged look. So there we go. So there's our aged looking Moonshine charm, which is really nice. But to finish it off, to protect the color of the pastels that have already been on there, I will finish it with a matte glaze. And the top of the bottle, to make it look like glass, I finish it with a gloss glaze. And I find that's just a really neat effect. Here's my finished one. So you see the top looks more like glass, and then the bottom we have that ceramic look. Another trick that you can do if you are making this a charm is, for instance, this one here was the one that we just made during the tutorial, but with the body, here's the body that we made. At this point, if you were wanting to, what you can do is stick a head pin right through the top where you would want the head pin to be, and stick it all the way through, and when you're baking it, that will bake with a hole in it. I don't do that often to many of my pieces. I don't even usually do that with these, but it is very hard to jam the safety pin through after you bake it on the Moonshine, just because of how much it is. I still do it, but I use my flat nose pliers to force it through. But just figured that's a fun one. This is one that I spent a lot of hours going through and thinking about how I wanted to make it. I went through a few different templates before I found out that this is the way that I like it best. So I wanted to share. Thank you for joining me. Subscribe if you'd like more. Like, and let me know in the comments what other types of things you would like to see. Take care. Bye.